What's the matter with you?
That's the saddest story I ever heard.
Greetings, fellow mortals. Just a reminder saying it's just my opinion is for cowards. And there will be spoilers for the entirety of The Penguin, so you have been warned. The Penguin, the undisputed best television show in all of 2024, with really the only competition being Shogun from last year. Wait, Shogun's first episode was in February of 2024? That doesn't seem right. Man, this year has been long. Okay, so we got Shogun, Arcane Season 2, and The Penguin all in 1 year, which is impressive, but The Penguin is still my favorite. And I think that partially has to do with how quickly and intensely I grew to like the main characters. Well, actually, like is a strong word, because I wouldn't want to hang out with any of these people in real life, but be entertained by, want to see more of, that fits. Now, there's no denying that without Oz, there wouldn't be a show, and that Sophia stole the show, but without Victor, we probably wouldn't be anchored into the show, because he is the beating heart and soul of everything that happened in The Penguin.
No, you complete me.
Victor Aguilar was a citizen of Gotham who felt very bitter about the fact that his family could never get ahead despite how hard they worked. While tempted by the seemingly quick wealth that he could attain through crime, his father kept him on the straight and narrow until the event of the Batman occurred. From a nearby roof, Victor literally watched as his entire family was wiped out by the flood caused by the Riddler. Without his family, specifically his father, to guide him, and with his neighborhood basically completely destroyed, Victor fell into a life of crime. Now, he didn't do anything violent at first, but he did start stealing, specifically tires off of different cars. And this immediately reminded me of the Jason Todd Robin. If you don't know, the second Robin first met Batman because he was trying to steal the tires off the Batmobile. Seeing the wasted potential, Batman took Jason in and taught him how to fight crime, until the fan base decided that they wanted to vote for Jason to be permanently killed off by the Joker.
I hate you!
But don't worry, Jason eventually came back to life as the Red Hood, as most comic book characters tend to, and now he's a lot more popular, so it worked out for him. Unfortunately, I don't think that Victor is going to get access to a Lazarus pit anytime soon, though I'm pretty sure his popularity has peaked. But I do love the parallelism between Victor and Jason, where a mentor, an adopted father figure, can drastically change the trajectory of your life. Because unfortunately, Victor and his friends decided to try to steal the tires off the Penguin's car. Because unlike Batman, Oz Cobb isn't going to be moved by the displaced and distraught youth. He's not going to greet Victor with a pat on the head and a cup of hot cocoa. Instead, he's going to come out guns blazing.
Wow. But it's a lucky thing I had my pieces.
Your pieces?
My guns.
Oh. Wow.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang!
Wow.
Bang!
But before he could kill or at least gravely injure Victor, Penguin notices that Victor has a stuttering issue. At first, it seems like Oz is sympathetic to Victor's issue, but later we realize nope, he was just trying to manipulate the kid. Using the threat of violence, Oz drags Victor around town while he covers up his recent crime of killing the Falcone mob boss. All the while, Oz is manipulating Victor in order to ingrain his newest protege into his world. Repeated threats of violence, casual displays of charisma, distribution of wealth, and a show of respect from everyone around him shows Victor that Oz is what he wants to be. All the while, Victor doesn't realize that he's being perfectly manipulated. And when Victor does swear loyalty to Oz, the Penguin takes his new protege to see his mother, showing the kid a more sensitive and loving side. During the first viewing, we feel the exact same way as Victor does about Oz. We think that he's terrifying, but charismatic. We think that he's caring, if a little bit rough on the outside. While Oz is a criminal, we think that there's a heart of gold deep down in there, because he presents an air of actually caring about the people around him, even though by the end we realize, oh, that was all fake.
Hey, you know who lives in this house? A great big phony! That's right, a phony lives here!
And that is the importance of Victor. Not only does Oz need Victor in order to succeed, we need Victor as a vehicle to understand this monster. Victor might be the single most sympathetic character in the entire show. I know terrible things happened to Sophia, but hey, she was working for a mob boss from the beginning, so getting burned was always on the table. But Victor had a loving family from the start, a loving father from the start. He wouldn't have fallen into a life of crime if the flood didn't happen, if the Riddler didn't take absolutely everything from him. He didn't have a support system, he didn't have proper guidance, so he started to make terrible choices. And this is the key aspect of Victor, is that what happened was a result of his own decisions. Of course, at the start, Victor really didn't have a choice. His family was stolen from him. He didn't have any assets. He didn't have anyone to look out for him. There was a crazy guy going around his neighborhood making him steal tires, and then Oz dragged him into the Penguin nonsense, which is why it was important that the writers eventually empowered Victor to make his own decisions, because that way he isn't just a kicked puppy, but a character who developed and chose his own tragedy.
It's so damn hot. Milk was a bad choice.
At first, the Penguin was just dragging Victor around, forcing his protege to work for him. Every threat, every favor, every order, every bit of money was all done to ingrain Victor into the Penguin's world. When Oz gave an order, sometimes Victor would fail, sometimes he would succeed, but either way, the Penguin tried to teach the kid and bolster him up, not because he wanted what was best for Victor, but because he wanted to use Victor. And as the show went on, we definitely saw Victor grow in terms of competency, charisma, and confidence. So much so that for the entire second half of the show, Victor was around because he wanted to be, not because anyone was forcing him to be. Victor could have not only left with his girlfriend at the very start, he could have chased after her at any single point. He was the Penguin's right-hand guy. He could have easily stolen thousands, if not tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands of dollars and chased after the smartest girl in the show because she realized that she needed to get out of Gotham.
Oh, it's so obvious. I would have never thought of that.
And what was the Penguin going to do if Victor fled to the other side of the country? Absolutely nothing, because without Victor, he would have lost, and Sophia would have thought that it was hilarious that the Penguin was abandoned. So Victor would have gotten away scot-free. But Victor didn't do the smart thing. Instead, he stuck around because of his own ambition and because of his deluded sense of loyalty to Oz. Because an important aspect of Victor's character is that he never learns what the audience does about Oz. He doesn't learn the truth about Oz's brothers. He doesn't learn the truth about Sophia. He doesn't learn the truth about how Oz feels about everyone around him, that they're all just pawns for his own narcissistic schemes. If you only ever followed Victor's perspective, if you only ever witnessed what he saw, then you would probably still feel the same way about Oz from episode 1 until episode 8, at least until the betrayal at the very end. You would have viewed Oz as the broken, charismatic gangster with a heart of gold, and would have been completely shocked, just like Victor, when Oz decided to choke Victor to death.
I'll teach you to win the game, you stupid.
But as someone who watched every single episode, you were not surprised at all when Penguin decided to flatline Victor. You've already seen the Penguin betray and kill everyone else. It's not surprising that Victor would be the next one up. From the moment you saw Victor choosing to stay with the Penguin instead of leaving, you knew that Oz was going to be the death of him. You just didn't know how. Was Victor going to take a bullet for Oz? Was Victor going to be tortured by the Penguin's enemies? It could have been anything, except they went for the worst possible option for our hearts. Because at the very end, the only single redeeming aspect of Oz was his relationship with Victor. The fact that Victor cared for him, the fact that Penguin actually seemed to care about Victor at all. It was the only thing that made him feel human. In fact, while Oz was crying over his mother in the hospital, the only thing that I could think was, man, the only reason I really care about Oz at all as a human being now is because Victor likes him. Victor, who remained loyal no matter what happened. happened. Victor, who found his voice and his confidence enough to scream at other mob bosses. Victor, who became so competent that he is the sole reason that the Penguin won in the end. But also Victor was the only loose end. The one person that the Penguin cared about. The one person that the Penguin's enemies could take and use against him. And Oz was not going to let anything or anyone tear him down.
Hate, 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 hate. Double hate.
Loathe entirely.
And after choking the life out of Victor, the Penguin stole his wallet, took his money, and threw his ID into the harbor, symbolizing that Oz took absolutely everything from Victor. Victor wasn't even a person anymore. He was just another stepping stone for Oz Cobb. And at that moment, any hope that the Penguin had any bit of humanity in him at all died. Because Victor represented our affection for Oz, our desire for him to be some sort of Robin Hood figure. Victor was a symbol that there could be any sort of humanity, any sort of loyalty, any sort of honor in crime. But as we saw throughout the show, even that was slowly decaying. If the Penguin didn't kill Victor, Victor would eventually become a monster himself. Through terrible circumstances caused by the Riddler and his own awful choices to stand by Oz until the very end, Victor chose his own tragedy. Ultimately, Victor chose to love the wrong person, and that might be the single realest thing in the Penguin show. I mean, who in life hasn't chosen the wrong relationship? Whether it be romantic, whether it be friendship, whether it be choosing your mentor, everyone has made that mistake. Unfortunately, Victor took it to an extreme degree, and it cost him absolutely everything. And you know what? Victor's story might be the thing that I remember the most from the Penguin moving forward, because he was the beating heart and soul of the show. And now that Oz flatlined him, well, I'm really ready for the Batman to beat the ever-loving piss out of him. But what do you think? Did you like Victor's character as much as I? Did you hate him? Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, if you disagree with everything I have to say, that is perfectly fine. After all, everyone is entitled to their objectively wrong opinion.
Oh, I made myself sad.
Thank you all so much for watching.
Still here?
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. You bye. Boom.
Do not despair.